Well, it has happened. We finished the first hour and we've slid right into the second hour.
Like it.
Yeah. The guy who is so good on politics joins us today. I forgot Michael Shure can't be with us today, so it'll be just this guy, which is really terrific because it allows him to spread his wings. He's the former senior news correspondent at ABC News, covered the White House for years, Peabody and Murrow Award winner, Emmy Award winner. He's the great Jim Avila, everyone. Sir, thank you. Jim Avila, there is so much going on, and it would appear that what we're seeing in Washington right now, and you covered Washington for so many years, although through this craziness, maybe you can relate it to some of the other things that you witnessed or reported on. But I'm wondering if you can give us a sense of whether the GOP and Kevin McCarthy are going to somehow reconstitute themselves with a new speaker, or what's going to happen. McCarthy's in trouble, and I wonder if you could talk to us about that situation with him. He seems to have given in on a lot of issues when it comes to the... Oh, here's Michael Shure. Michael Shure has made it.
Yeah, good.
That's very cool. So how about it for a guy who's forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know? Here's Michael Shure, everybody.
Got more about punctuality than most of us will ever know.
I thought you weren't coming today. I just was saying I don't think Michael will be with us. But anyway,
Michael's coming. Oh. Yeah, it's not coming to something else. It's coming to this.
Oh, that's right. Okay, sorry. I was just asking Jim to comment on the situation with Kevin McCarthy and the deal that he's had to make with the extreme right of his party, and whether it doesn't look like a deal is going to be made that can save his speakership. Could you speak to that, please, Jim?
Well, I think that. This impeachment gambit, and it's really an impeachment inquiry, so shows the weakness of Kevin McCarthy. If he had the votes, he would ask for an actual vote on the floor. They don't have the votes, even among Republicans. There's about 14 to 15 Republicans who are in tight districts where Joe Biden has won in their district, that don't want to vote for this, don't want to have to vote for this. And so he couldn't put it up for a vote because they would have lost. And so instead he announces this inquiry, which he can do on his own, even though he's said in the past that he wouldn't do it on his own. And now he's still in a tight spot because it doesn't satisfy anybody. It doesn't satisfy the hard right, who wants an actual inquiry, who wants an actual impeachment, not just an inquiry. So I think McCarthy's in big trouble. His entire speakership, he's been in big trouble. And I think that, my opinion is that the GOP is going to implode over this because they're going to fight over this. They're going to get nothing. They're not going to get anything done. They're certainly not going to impeach Joe Biden, and so it's all becomes a backlash against the Republican Party, and it's another self-inflicted wound.
Michael, I presume you would agree with a lot of that. I just don't. Where do you end up on the other side of that if that's what happens?
I mean, it's factual. It's not even opinion. He is hot, and being the Speaker of the House in this Republican caucus is a really, really impossible job, and that's a job he has to do now. And it's that there aren't enough moderates for him to have to stick through all of this, and because of that, and because one of the concessions he made when he was made speaker on the 15th or 17th vote in January, one of those concessions was that he was going to allow them to basically have an up or down vote on his speakership. And that's what when he screamed profanities at Matt Gaetz from Florida, and he said, just have the vote on that, and that's what he was talking about. And listen, it's not an easy job. He got the power, but in a sense, he's powerless.
So this is something in the chat from Karen. So who steps in if McCarthy steps out? And then it suggested also, is the new speaker Matt Gaetz? Ricky, who says?
No, I don't think someone from the Freedom Caucus would get it. I think somebody who the Freedom Caucus likes might get it. So I could see somebody, as I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know that Elise Stefanik is that person. She's in leadership. Steve Scalise, certainly not. Maybe someone like Brian Mast of Florida, who can kind of bridge the two a little bit. Maybe somebody who is far to the right of McCarthy, but maybe one of the sort of mild Freedom Caucus, even though that's an oxymoron. Someone like Morgan Griffith from Virginia. It remains to be seen, but I think that they're going to need to find somebody who they can definitely get consensus with.
Jim, they're looking at a deadline also, aren't they, on funding the government?
Yeah, they are, and that's that's going to blow up as well, and they're not going to get anything done. When there's an impeachment inquiry or impeachment is on the floor, it consumes everything in the House. They're going to be involved in this 24/7, so they won't get anything done. Supposedly, McCarthy went ahead with the inquiry in order to get the Freedom Caucus and those on the right to jump on board and find a solution for the funding, but I don't think that worked. It doesn't look like it looks like they're split and they're imploding, and I don't see any resolution of it that where McCarthy comes out well or the GOP comes out well.
And he's like a sugar daddy to the Freedom Caucus, and they have this sort of symbiotic relationship where they give to him what he gives to them, but it doesn't really help McCarthy at all because he can't run the House in that way. It helps them, and if they get rid of him, then it remains to be seen who would step in and who would be there after he was there, like the listener asked. Because that person is going to still be up against the same kind of challenges.
The other name that I heard, which is bizarre, is James Comer. I've heard is also possibility, but he is so damaged, and those on moderates are really angry at them for doing this because it's put them in a very difficult position to try to win re-election. Also, Comer has some baggage. Back in the 90s, he was accused of beating up his girlfriend and in college. And during that scandal, that was a huge scandal that caused him to lose the race he was in at the time, which was for governor. And if he becomes a candidate for Speaker of the House, all that comes back. So it's
Jim there? Is it me?
Yeah, it's interesting. It sounds like there's such disarray. And yet that you got the headlines you wanted if you were the GOP around Hunter, and you want Biden's scandal however you can get it. They got the most tepid scandal, I think, in Hunter Biden because it's the one that is clearly not connected to the old man. I mean, Joe Biden, if you want to look at the Biden crime syndicate family or whatever the pitch is, he's clearly not connected to his drug-addled son getting a gun permit and lying on a federal form. So to me, you've got weak sauce on that, but you do get the headline, Michael.
Well, you get the headline, that's what they're after. But, it's a microcosm of the Republicans nationally, what's going on in the House, right? I mean, they have Trump, and Trump is like the Freedom Caucus, right? He makes all the moderates scramble, try and figure out what to do. They have to support to some degree, or else their constituents are not going to be happy. And then it splits the party. So the party is split nationally, as we've seen in polling for the presidential race. It's split in the Congress to the point where Kevin McCarthy is holding on to a threadbare speakership right now. And then you look at it and you realize that there's no way out immediately from this problem. And then if Joe Manchin, let's say, were to run for president as an independent, that would hurt Trump as well, and that would hurt the Republicans, and it would expose their divisions because many of the moderates would probably vote for Manchin. I mean, third-party candidates don't ever get as many as you think 13 months before the election they will get, but he would get something. And so I don't know. There's no curative measure that can be taken right now. They just have to kind of push through this, and the Democrats have to sit back and they have to do something better. But going to Biden, that's what they're trying to do. They've succeeded together in that caucus on wedge issues. So if Joe Biden is a wedge issue, if Hunter Biden's a wedge issue, then in fact they could probably unite behind it, which is why they're most excited about it.
Well, the big problem, though, is, Michael, is that there was nothing new that came out yesterday.
No, of course not.
The headlines are all there, but all this is baked in already. those who think that Joe Biden is corrupt, 35% who support Donald Trump and listen to that baloney, they believe it just as much as they did. The ones who support Biden don't believe it because nothing new came out. And either in the impeachment part or in the Hunter Biden part, we already knew that he filled out a form saying he was not a drug addict and bought a gun. We already knew that already. In fact, the government knew that already and reached an agreement to let him go. So
Right.
none of that is.
It doesn't matter. I mean, they hammer this stuff home constantly. Nothing changed from the beginning of the Benghazi hearings to the end of the Benghazi hearings, but saying Benghazi every day sows some kind of doubt in independent voters the way they do it with Hunter Biden. Look what they've just done today, right? The Pentagon is now going to investigate the exit from Kabul, from Afghanistan, because the Republicans have been pressing them to do that. So as soon as what do? You point to the two biggest weaknesses of Joe Biden publicly, Hunter Biden and the Kabul exit, the Afghanistan exit, and you bring those up before an election year, that you know what they're going after there.
Yeah, but I think it's desperation. I don't think,
I think
the problem with that they have is that the cake is baked on the two sides, and the independents haven't been shown any real evidence. They're waiting for some real evidence that Joe Biden is somehow connected. Now and they haven't gotten that yet. They keep saying this Biden crime family. The most that Joe Biden ever did was probably stupid and going to meet with his son when his son is having lunch, at the Palm in Washington, D.C. with these other people, with the people from either China or.
I believe it was Cafe Milano, but
could have been Cafe. Yeah, I've been to both. They're both very nice in Washington. The Cafe Milano has this dish.
What's the favorite spot of the Biden crime family? Do they like the Palm or do they like the Cafe?
Evidently, they like the Cafe Milano. But,
tell me the dish of Cafe Milano.
It's the pasta that they serve in the cheese wheel. It's just, it's
Pretty
just
great.
Yeah, there's never been anything like it, I don't think.
There's never been anything like this.
That's right. Yeah.
But my point is that the independents haven't been shown anything new, and until they are, that's not going to sway the vote. I think that it's tight. I don't think it's going to remain tight. I think as Trump continues to go through the real evidence of his corruption and crime, that the independents are going to sway more and more over to the Democrats, and it's going to be an anti-Trump vote, not a pro-anybody vote, including Biden.
Right.
Well, why then does this troubled party that you just described, GOP, unable to really manage their own House, not really able to pass any meaningful legislation as suggested, and held hostage by all these different coalitions within the party, why then is there sweat about the upcoming election to the point they feel Joe Biden shouldn't run? I mean, you're getting that from Mitt Romney, who just announced that he's leaving, and he kind of, with a, on his way out, and he's not leaving for another year, but on his way out, he's saying, what's that?
The
Michael?
simple answer is Hunter Biden's not an issue, but Joe Biden's age is an issue. It's an issue to Democrats. It's an issue to Republicans. It's an issue to voters who don't want to admit that it's an issue to them. So that's why. I mean, it's not because they're cowering in the face of Trump by any means. I don't think that informs this apathy or hesitancy.
But I keep hearing how Trump can't win and Biden will win. So you want to change top of ticket to somebody, I don't know, who do you want? You want Amy Klobuchar and then, all bets are off? Or do you feel that anybody could beat Trump? Is that where we are, Jim Avila?
I don't feel that anybody could beat Trump. I think if Biden's not in the race, Trump might not be in the race either. And then it's a different, back to square one-ish type situation. Again, that's many carts before many horses. But I don't know. I don't
back
think
to square one may not be a place that the Democrats want to be.
I think Trump will not win the presidency. And I don't think of the Democrats, I don't think anybody can lose to him. But again, a lot can happen with both candidates at the top, and I'm sure Jim has something.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, look, I think Amy Klobuchar would be a better candidate myself. I think that she would appeal to the swing states. I think she is smart, thinks on her feet, would be great in the debate, would be a woman, which is what we need for, since men have messed it up for so long. So I think she'd be great. But the problem that the Democrats have is they really want to beat Donald Trump, right? And the only one who's proven that he can do it is Joe Biden. And that's Joe Biden's strongest point. Do I think he should step back and take a victory lap and be on Mount Rushmore? Yes, I do. And as far as who could take his place, there's a handful of Democrats who, who, as a Democrat, I would support. But from Klobuchar to Cory Booker to Kamala Harris in my place, Gavin Newsom, they're all a bunch of headliners who I think could beat Donald Trump because Donald Trump is a loser. He's a loser.
Jim's ride just arrived. Yeah, there you go. The wide open nature of the Democratic field is interesting to me, given the fact that there is this loud drumbeat for Biden to step back, Michael Shure.
And what's curious is in many cases you would see the vice president be the person that they would herald, but that might be a thing of the past actually, because vice presidents don't do what vice presidents did before in terms of being the assumed next person up. I think that if Biden shuts it down, Harris won't run, and I think that then it'll be open season. So I think it'll just be an open race, but it sort of has to happen soon. I mean, I guess I'm saying that because you're supposed to say that, but it would be very, very difficult for all this money to be raised and not be able to use it because it would be going to Biden, who at that point probably wouldn't have a horse in the race, and the DNC would be scrambling for dollars, and these candidates would have to scramble for money against a well-oiled Republican machine. I think it has to happen soon if it's going to happen.
That seems clear, Jim. I mean, if he's going to step back, you can't wait too long, right?
You got to wait. You got to step back before the primaries actually begin. So he has a little time. But, let's see what his family tells him over the holidays. See what happens right after that. I think it's still possible.
I think it's got to happen earlier. I think it's got to happen earlier than that.
Okay. The other thing I was just going to say, just in response to that last comment that was put up there from John, with Klobuchar and being a former DA and Kamala being an ex-DA. I mean, they talk about that as baggage, but I actually see that in this time in America as an asset, meaning, I think the law and order part of the Democratic platform, and just as the Democrats come across their profile, I think that helps them, doesn't hurt them. What do you think?
Well, I think that the two biggest vulnerabilities for the Democratic Party have nothing to do with Hunter Biden or Joe Biden and a Biden corrupt family. Have nothing to do with that. The two biggest vulnerabilities are crime in the cities, and it's not that it's not factual, but it's a perception out there that people are unsafe, and it's being fomented by local news, which is on every night and shows some smash and grab, which really doesn't affect most of us. It's terrible. It shouldn't be happening. The murders are down, rapes are down, those type of things are down. But the perception out there is that the cities are run amok, and the Democrats are going to be hurt by that unless they grab hold of that issue. The other issue is immigration. The cities are being overrun. The tactic that the Republicans have used of shipping them to New York and Chicago, and in some cases to Los Angeles, is working. And I think that the Democrat it's easily fixed. And this may take a second, Michael, so I apologize, but it gets easily fixed, but especially the immigration piece. All they have to do is in the House or in the Senate, which they control, pass a comprehensive immigration bill modeled after the one in 2015, which addresses more border security, more judges, an amnesty type thing for people who are already here, and have that comprehensive immigration reform, which was bipartisan, put that up back on the table. Then when it gets to the House, they'll turn it down. But the issue then is exposed as to what it really is, a political issue for the Republicans and not an honest search for a solution. As far as crime is concerned, and I'll be done with this very quickly, Joe Biden, there's no way to attack Joe Biden as soft on crime. he was one of the ones who, with Bill Clinton, who supported the Bill Clinton increase in funds for police. And what he should do now is he should pass a bill that increases the number of police in the cities, but with an emphasis on that they have to be on the street and they have to be walking the beats and not in their helicopters and in their cars. If he does something like that, they recapture both those issues, which are the biggest dangers that they have right now. Sorry for the long speech.
I accept your apology.
I'm just seeing this. I wonder if you just address this. Where is this comment? PT writes, I think that if Biden as the incumbent doesn't run, the election becomes wide open and the Dems are likely to lose. I mean, I think that's I don't know about that. But does there...
No, I don't know about likely to lose, but
it does open it up.
Point made by him or her. I didn't see the name. It does open it up. There's less certainty. But again, the reason this conversation is being had is because not everybody's certain about Joe Biden for his age, because the vice president, who is for whatever reason not popular at a time when you have a perceivably more frail president than we usually have, that the vice president may matter in ways that the vice president never matters on a ticket. So, there are reasons for concern. And the fact that they're being said doesn't mean that it's defeatist. It's being realistic.
By the way, Trump was asked about the age and whether that's an issue for Joe Biden. Trump's done these sit-downs now with Megyn Kelly, and he did one for, is it Welker, who's the new Meet the Press host? And he was asked about this, and apparently he said, hey, I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think his age is a big deal. And I'd expect somebody who's only a few years younger than Biden to say that. But he said, but he's incompetent. He said it's not his age that's the problem. It's his incompetence that's the problem. So, Trump covering the fact that, he's on the sort of far down the chessboard the way that that Biden is, Jim.
Well, he wants a rematch too.
Yeah. Kristen Welker has taken this step off a cliff in her first weekend in the
host
chair.
of Meet the Press, the new host of Meet the Press.
Yes, yeah. And she has now interviewed Donald Trump, and in the clips they show, he tells about 8 lies without her pushing back in any of them, and it is a total mistake for her to do that. And unless she needed to do something. She needed to stand up to him and make him walk off the set. If he would have walked off the set, then she would have set the tone for her entire regime at Meet the Press. Now, she's just like Chuck Todd. It's just Chuck Todd in a different outfit.
Yeah, she certainly kind of became a human mic stand to let him. I didn't even know everything he was talking. He was talking about the Presidential Records Act and stuff, and I saw the clip. I just didn't even know all the specifics. I don't have the Presidential Records Act.
The Presidential Records Act does not do what he says it does.
My point is, I knew that his every utterance was a lie. I mean, literally everything he said was a lie, and yet she just did kind of turn into a doormat.
There's no excuse for it. She knew that's been his answer. She knew that was going to come up. Why didn't she have one of those blue index cards with the quote right on it, which shows that it doesn't say that? It's just inexcusable.
Yeah, I don't know that these. It's all about access. These various hosts of Meet the Press and beyond.
He's one of the ones who was at that dinner with the.
Yeah, he
went to dinner with all the Trump people
with Miller there and all the rest of them.
In Iowa.
The night of the debate, we talked about that. The head of CBS News, I think, was there. It was crazy. It was like
someone just wrote in about calling it ageist, I guess.
Right, the Lady Beatrice. Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I don't think it's ageist. I think it's a real thing to talk about, like anything with a president. I think you look at what their strengths and weaknesses are. We don't let people be president until they're 35 anyway. Is that ageist on the other end? I don't know. But the point is that it isn't about ageism. It's about looking at every factor of a U.S. president, and age is a big part of it. It's a tough job, and I think anyone who's 80 would say it's not as easy as being 70 for the most part.
Well, his travel schedule alone could kill me. I mean, I don't know how the guy does it. It's really amazing. By the way, do you disagree with this, Michael? Phineas says Jim Avila should have Chuck Todd's job. How do you feel about that, Michael Shure?
I think I'd rather see Jim Avila than Chuck Todd any day of the week. Yeah, I would. I don't know what
that's
Chuck
sort of a
Todd's
tepid
job is
endorsement,
right now.
Ted.
I don't know what
Yeah.
Chuck Todd's job is right now. So
Seems like a lot of work, I mean, I come on here and I just spout off.
Yeah,
with very
that's
little
right.
research.
Well, we love having you guys on. Thank you both, and we look forward to talking to you next week. Jim Avila, Michael Shure, see you, buddy.
bye, guys.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.